like 7, vitalize. Inner circles here, where voices thrive. Turn on your screens, let the magic unfold. Listening and healing as stories are told. Come on, come on, this is your time. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. Inner Circle podcast where hearts unite. Sharing our truths, bringing hope to the light. Community strong, we're never alone. Together as one, we've created a home. With laughter and love, we break down the walls. No topics too tough, just heed the calls. From mental health woes to justice we seek. Together we rise for the strong and the meek. A safe space for all, let's lift every voice. So join the conversation, let's set the tone.
Okay, good evening, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Inner Cycle Podcast. Sorry, we experienced little technical difficulty. That's why we are late, but with everything with technology, we solved that quick, and we are here. Today's Wednesday is our business segment. I'm here with my usual gang. I'm your host, Abe Kamara, and tonight the topic is SOPs, Standard Operating Procedures, feeding business success through discipline. So welcome to the show, Randy.
Um, thanks, AB. Welcome to our audience. If you're listening live or happen to catch the podcast later, every Wednesday, 7:30 Central Standard Time. The three of us, myself, AB, and Ms. B, bring you some interesting topic in the business sector. So if you're an entrepreneur, you're a business individual, just have an interest, feel free to tune in. Tonight is going to be another hopefully juicy conversation. Ms. B.
Yeah.
Hey everyone, it's your girl Miss B, minding the business that pays me on Wednesdays. So welcome.
Yeah. So before we dive into things, folks, you can follow us on Facebook, subscribe to our YouTube channel, follow us on X, LinkedIn, Apple Podcast, everywhere you get your podcast, Spotify, everywhere. We are everywhere. We're trying to grow this thing. As Randy said, every Wednesday, bring you some interesting business conversation, whether you're in finance or business. So Randy, man, tonight's topic is an interesting one. You suggested this, right? It's something I think from my own experience, right? Many immigrant entrepreneurs, struggle with SOPs, right? Standard operating procedures, because think about it, when it comes to discipline, we all struggle with discipline when it comes to SOPs. It's about discipline. Why this topic? Why did you suggest this topic, and what intrigued you? What's the motivation behind this?
Sure. Thanks once again. So before I kind of step into this area of becoming an entrepreneur, I worked 15 years within corporate America, specifically manufacturing. I worked for a number of Fortune 50, Fortune 500 companies, and got a lot of exposure to lean manufacturing, specifically the Toyota model. And so there was one session we had where we talked about KPIs.
Yeah.
We talked about key performance indicators, the importance of data, to be able to evaluate your business, to be able to identify opportunity, to drive improvement. And then I had a conversation with one of my buddies on the soccer field. He said, "Hey, man, I listened to you guys, and you interested me. You was talking about a topic that really got my attention, about KPIs." He said, "Bro, I never heard about it before. I don't even know where to start."
Okay.
And so I was talking to him, giving him kind of like the basic where to start, where he felt like was important. And then that conversation led me into standard operating procedure.
Yeah.
And so because they go hand in hand, right?
Yeah.
With the KPIs, it's extrapolating data from your business activities. And
Mm-hmm.
the best way to do that is to be consistent.
Yeah.
And how you drive consistency in your business is to establish standard operating procedure, things that you do every day, every week, bi-weekly, quarterly, and things like that. So it's a topic that just go hand in hand with KPIs and those looking to drive discipline, consistency in the business. Because just think about it, in order for you to really get your pulse on the business, you
Yeah.
have to be engaged, with that business. You cannot be seasonal. You can't turn it off and turn it on when you feel like it. You have
Mm-hmm.
to be consistently doing things the same way for you to be able to get the same result. And standard operating procedure is something that a lot of manufacturing, a lot of manufacturing facility, and companies, they really tune into to be able to eliminate the human element of a business.
Yeah.
Because if you rely just on people, we all have emotions, right? We have good day,
Yeah.
we have bad days. So just think about it. If you rely on people to drive the output of your business, if that person get up on the wrong side of the pillow, that means your productivity is going to go down.
Yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you have standard operating procedure embedded into your business activity, it helps to drive consistency. That way, you're able to get predicted. You're able to
Yeah.
predict the output.
Sure. Yeah. Well, folks, for those of you who don't know me, who don't know what SOPs are, standard operating procedures, are step-by-step instruction, as Randy said, that describe how to carry out routine business tasks, right, in a consistent, efficient, and reliable way. It's like a recipe, like for those of you who are who are a cook, it's like a recipe, when you're in the kitchen. So, with the definition out of the way, Miss B, what's your take on standard operating procedures? So, as I said, when I was opening here, it's something it's alien to most immigrant-run businesses, to immigrant entrepreneurs. It's something we struggle with. I mean, it's like all of us. The fact that Randy brought this, I think, is really, really important for our community, right? But what's your take on this?
I think I'm going to bring he'll bring the formal technology, and then I'll try to bring some of the layman's terms to things.
Hmm. Hmm.
Are you an organized person? Let's just start there.
Okay.
Right?
Okay. Okay.
People come to my house, they go in my kitchen, and they're just like, they can't believe I have a drawer where I organize straws, drinking straws. I organize my chopsticks, right? And so you're laughing, right? And
Okay.
I don't function well in chaos. And it starts from my home. If my house is messy and disorganized, I can't be functioning well at school. I can't be functioning well at work. I can't be functioning well to have the mind space to organize my daughter's schedule, my husband's schedule, my schedule, and so forth. So, organization, folks, if you just simple organization, if you stop not being okay with messiness, then you can start to understand the importance of how you bring that messiness to your job. And as an entrepreneur, you bring that messiness ultimately to the business that you're trying to operate. So when you can become more organized, then you can process why my business can be more successful if I have something like standard operating procedures.
Yeah. Well, folks, as I said, tonight's topic is standard operating procedure, SOPs, fueling business success through discipline. You can contribute to the conversation by obviously calling our number 952-594-5154 or putting a comment in the chat. But, I mean, this is like a playbook, right, for your business, showing what needs to be done, who does it, and when it needs to be done and how it should be done. But the one thing that when I was, researching this topic, the one thing that caught my attention, right, keep coming up is consistency. But man, I mean, consistency, right, in our community is you had to find out, Randy. You know what I mean? We all struggle with. I mean, you and someone will get on a project, right? It's like along the way, the person will say, "Man, that is not for me," right? It's like if it's because to operate a business not easy. It's not, especially in the early stages. It
Yeah.
really, really requires. I mean, you're not going to just see the fruit of it. You know what I
Right.
mean? It requires consistency. It requires, I mean, that's the key, right? What you can have all of the discipline, right? To me, the consistency aspect of it really, really drives the success, especially for a startup. but it's something we struggle with running in our community.
Yeah, and the first step of addressing any problem is to first acknowledge is to go through the acknowledgement phase, right? We're
Mm-hmm.
just not good at it. I
Mm-hmm.
think you and I have had this conversation a few times. We need to take ownership about it. I think part of our initiative and what we aim to bring light to every Wednesday is driving the message within our community that, hey, this is something we're not good at, but these are tools, these are processes, these are there's different resources out there that you can tap into. And something really important stood out to me when I went to business school. Doesn't matter what McDonald's you go to. You can go
Yeah.
to a McDonald's in New York. You can go to a McDonald's in Nebraska. You can go to a McDonald's in California. The cheeseburgers taste the same. I
So,
mean, the same thing with Burger King.
yeah.
And you know why that is? It's because of SOP.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you
Mhm.
know how many employees have cooked those burgers? Do you know how many different temperatures those burgers have been cooked in? But because they have such a robust process,
Yeah.
repeatable. When you and I go to McDonald's, we know what the cheeseburger is going to taste like,
Yeah.
right? We're not like, oh, you know what? Let's go to this particular McDonald's. It's like, no, any McDonald's or any corner, we expect the same result, right? And so, as an
Mhm.
entrepreneur, just getting visibility to this tool, tapping into it, learning about it, starting from a basic perspective is what is going to allow you to really fuel success into your business, because it's all about consistency. And it's not just from an instruction perspective. Ms. B said it's also from an organization perspective. So like now,
Mhm.
if you look at my weekly SOP, every Wednesday at 7:30, her inner circle is on there.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I know that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Usually,
Mhm.
if I'm not on Inner Circle, I will be out with my buddies playing soccer. But
Mhm.
because Inner Circle is there, I review my SOP every day. I know that I have a commitment to be here, and it helps with organization of your
Yeah.
activities throughout the day. So it's just not a step by step instructions on what you need to do. It also gave you an organization of how you need to drive things. So that's
Yeah.
another benefit of SOP.
I'm glad you brought up McDonald's, right? Because the thing about it, man, is like McDonald's. Even when you go to Japan, everywhere you go, wherever McDonald's is, right? They might add some few other stuff in other countries, but the core of McDonald's product is the same everywhere you go. And one of the things, right, is that when it comes to SOP, it saves time and money. But you know what I mean, saves time some money. But why is it, even though it saves time some money, Miss B, is as I said, right? Most of us just kind of avoid it, right? You see a lot of, you are in a community, you see a lot of small businesses just don't have that standard operating procedure to say, okay, when you're not there, that someone can come in, or employee of McDonald's can come in and know how to cook that burger. Because number one, McDonald's move at a speed. Have to move at a speed because they have to serve X amount of customers. So it's
Right.
like so they have to follow those procedures. Miss B?
I I think the main reason in which a lot of the African immigrants struggle is because you get used to functioning. It's called change behavior. You get used to functioning along a one way, and even though you're going to do a different thing, you're still bringing the same behavior to this thing, right? If you have a soccer player, he's really good, he's going to want to bring the same skills to playing football, and not taking the time to realize, no, I'm playing a different game. It requires different rules, it requires different moves, different discipline. And yes, you may, even if you transition out of a company and start your own company, the exact same company, right? You still, just bringing what you did at that company into your new company is not going to be enough.
Right.
And if you don't open yourself up to this idea of having changed behaviors, that is where you're going to be setting yourself up for failure right away, regardless of the product or the service, right? The
Hmm.
behavior in which that you have to develop to deliver that final product or deliver that service needs to change, right? And that takes you sitting down and assessing, what do you have around you? What are you working with? And what does that need to look like? The process to create that product, the process to deliver that service. And that needs to be a change, and that needs to be a behavior. And what does that need to look like? I think a lot of times they don't make the time for that. They don't make the time at all for that thought process. They just dive in and keep going.
So Randy, then when go ahead, but I have one I have something to throw in here, but go ahead if you want to add to Miss B point.
And just to piggyback on what Ms. B said, not having or not investing in SOP um, doesn't really allow you to realize that the process you have is faulty. Let me give
Mm,
you an example. I won't call names, but there's a company that hired me because they were struggling with the P&L, extrusion company. They hired me as an operations manager. So I went there, and there was one guy who worked overnight shift. Um, he was the only guy that knew how to run this extrusion machine. So it because he was the only guy and we didn't have as much demand for it, it didn't create a problem. So we didn't run it on first shift, we didn't run it on second shift, we ran it on third shift because everybody when I got there, hey, this guy's the only guy that knows how to run the machine. Anytime the customer needed, we ran it on third shift. Guess what? The customer got the FDA approval and the floodgate open. Our demand increased by over 1,000%.
Hmm.
Now, in addition to maintaining operation on third shift, we needed to order new extruder and run two machines on first shift, two machines on second shift, and two machines on third shift. We got all of those machines, PQ, OQ executed, but we could not get it running. So I'm like, you know what? There's something not right. So I went third shift for 1 week and I worked with this guy. And I read the SOP verbatim. I'm like, listen, show me how you set this up. He set it up. Show me how you set this up. But there's something called the bath water, where after the plastic comes out of the extruder, it goes through this water that kind of like freezes it into space. This, according to the engineer, he needed to set this to one temperature, but this guy knew that that temperature didn't work, and for years he never told anyone. So, for example, they said, "Hey, set this at 80 degrees Fahrenheit," but he was setting it at like 40 because it needed to be much cooler. So I said, "Okay, why did you set this?" He said, "Oh, because if you set it at this, it wouldn't work." So I said, "Okay, do me a favor, set it at what is in the process." He said that what was in the process for the entire shift. He had the same problem that everybody else had. So I said, okay. I went back the next shift. I'm like, okay, set it to what temperature you want to set it at. And you know what happened? The entire shift, we had picture perfect product. So we had to shut down the machine. Our engineers had to work with the customer to implement a process change. We took a couple of weeks. But after that process change, we had a process that could work on every single shift. Every
mm,
single shift.
mm,
That just tells you how powerful standard operating procedures are. And if
mm.
you don't have the correct one, they really don't work.
Yeah, I mean that's a powerful. I mean that's a powerful example right there. But I'm even surprised, right? A company of that nature will only like put knowledge in one person, right? But those things happens, right? Like so
It's still
yeah,
happening.
Yeah.
like that what those are things you call tribal knowledge, right? Only one
Yep.
person possess that tribal knowledge, and sometimes they be so protective of it, right? It's like
You don't want to let it go.
I
Pay
cannot let this
attention to.
I cannot let
Yeah.
this out of the bag. I cannot let this out of the bag. It has to be close to my chest. There's no way I'm gonna tell anyone because and sometimes and the thing about it, right? I'm gonna get off track here, but because of job security, right? We're in a corporate world
Mm,
sometimes because of job security, you're
mm,
afraid to lose your job. You
true,
don't want someone coming in,
true.
knowing what you know, and then tomorrow they say, okay, hey man, we don't need you. This
Right.
person can do it. But to your point, I mean, it helps improve, business And the other thing about it is about scalability, right? Right there, the example you brought is about, it force the business to scale.
Yeah.
If there was like multi of, I mean, if they had SOPs, where in a couple of people could come and just follow that SOP and do exactly right what that guy was doing on that shift, rather would they are going to scale. Rather would they are going to scale. I mean, you never needed to go on test shift to learn it and then like develop a brand new SOP. But that's the importance of SOP, like scalability, right? It's like, what can you say? I mean, speak more to that when it comes to scaling, because it's something, again, right, when it comes to our community, right, especially the immigrant community,
Right.
our businesses do not scale because, again, we don't have SOPs.
Yeah, and SOPs. So there are multiple there are multiple foundation a business you have. KPIs is one of them. Continuous improvement. You got to have a continuous improvement mindset. You got to have a continuous improvement model. And SOP is one of the most critical because how can you scale without consistency? In this business world, I'll be honest with you, not too many things you do is going to be done by luck. Things you do have to be intentional, and you have to have the proper framework to drive to be able to scale the business.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and SOP is one of the levers that you need to have to be able to scale.
Mm-hmm.
If not, you're just going to be flying blind.
Okay.
You won't know what levers to pull. And so when things happen, you're not able to point to an element within your business model why those
Right.
things happen.
Okay. Okay. Ms. B, though, right, you talk about organization, you talk about structure, right? But we live in a fast moving world with technology. Things are moving at a very speed, right? It's like there are those, there are folks in the tech world. We talk about, innovative folks, we'll talk about some entrepreneur will say, man, SOP slow down innovation. What will you say to that, right? It's like, it's because you have to follow certain structure. Yeah, you have to follow certain discipline. Hey, sometimes you function, some folks function well in chaos. You know what I mean, and stuff, right? Moving, breaking things, fixing things and stuff. What would you say to the do with that innovative mindset where they just want to move at a speed? It's like, hey, we gotta move, the world is not waiting for us.
And I think that's some of the problem, right? Because you enter into the market and you'll find some level of success, right?
Mm-hmm.
But the unfortunate thing is that continuation of the success is going to become stagnant. You're going to reach a peak, and at that
Mm-hmm.
point, if you are not prepared to move yourself to scale yourself, then you'll start to see failure.
Mm-hmm.
Time
Already.
is
Mm-hmm.
at the in that moment of when you're seeing that success, you're seeing that growth. That's when you really need to capitalize on that for that scalability and sustainability, right? And oftentimes people talk about, business owners, and are you doing a $20 an hour job or a $200 an hour job, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you are the owner of the business and you are the one that has to open the store, turn on the lights, open the register, put the inventory on the floor, then you are missing at least the job of at least 2, 3 people, or you're doing it right there just in yourself. And then
Okay.
there are missed opportunities, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because the time you had to do all of that, you probably missed the opportunity for 2 or 3 customers to come into that store and purchase from you, for you to be able to take some time to sell them something, right? Because you're the one doing all of those things. And so we have to realize there's a difference between selling stuff online and there's a difference between selling stuff in a brick and mortar space. And it's just really paying attention to what are the components that are necessary to sell whatever I'm trying to sell, and
Mm-hmm.
figure out how many people does it take to do. I know a lot of people, their biggest fear is I don't want to pay somebody, or I can't afford to pay somebody. But you realize that businesses bring in those uh, uh, staff members, they grow their team
Mm-hmm.
before they need to grow their team, because you're preparing for that growth. And in order to prepare that growth, you need to have that capacity. Here it is. He gave a great example.
Yeah.
Had they prepared for beyond just that one person, they were going to be able to handle that increase or that growth even better. And I'm sure there was stuff in their KPIs that told them that they should have been preparing for that person, or something in their standard operating procedures that told them they needed to be preparing for those person. But if you have not even done the root work, which is the SOP, you're never going to be able to know and have answers to some of these questions as that entrepreneur.
And Randy, though, right? I mean, the thing about it, Ms. B brought a great point, something that most business, especially immigrant business, was like, I don't have money to pay, I don't have money to bring on employees. But one thing you see, even established businesses in the country do temp employees, temp labor. Temp
Yeah,
labor is a huge thing here. And the only reason why you have temp labor is because of SOPs, right? Because of SOPs. A
exactly.
friend, yeah, a friend of mine, had a his graduation party this weekend. Went at the beginning, went to set up the lady. I'm the decorator. She was taking hours upon hours, trying to do that decoration, right? It's like it was just her and her few friends, right? They had to call us to go and help. In my mind, like we're thinking that, like, okay, couldn't she hire like some some temporary labor to come and do this thing? Yeah, boom, 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 and it was gone. But number one, the fear of Miss B point, right? The fear of I don't want to take my low income, or my low revenue I'm generating from here to bring, to go hire someone. But if she had a SOP where in like, hey man, it takes maybe 2 hours to do this thing. Go get
Right,
temporary labor. How much are they charging you, right? It's
right.
like
$10 for 10
right?
people,
Boom.
maybe, to come help
It's
you.
done.
Yes, yes,
So
for
Yeah.
two
those
hours.
are some of these. Yes. Okay. Go ahead, Miss B. Go ahead. I'll let you flow on it. I'll let you flow. Go ahead.
You're right. Like, I agree with you. These event planners, you charge somebody $16,000, $20,000 to plan to have their event,
Mm,
and you needed to get the hall ready in 2 hours, right? Even
mhm,
if you times $20, which is a good going rate right now for some temp to hire positions, right? For
mhm, mhm,
people, it's
mhm,
not going to eat nowhere near into your profit. It's not, right? And
mhm.
so I totally agree with you, right? And just think, how many more events could they do in that 1 day time
Yeah.
if
Yeah.
they had the help just for that day? You're not paying these people Monday through Friday. They don't even need to be full-time employees. They're not with you all the time, right?
It's STEM
They're only
labor.
paying
That's
them for
the reason why it's STEM labor. You're not even paying any benefit. You're not doing nothing. You're not
And
paying
that's
them. Yeah.
and that is, I'll make 2 points.
Yeah. Go ahead.
That is one of the element that does not allow us to scale.
Mm,
See,
mm,
when you're starting as a business owner, as an entrepreneur,
mm-hmm.
your goal is to fuel growth in the business.
Yeah. Yeah.
A lot of times we want to fuel our pockets with profits.
Yeah,
No, I'm being very honest with you.
you're
You
Yeah.
you
Go
right.
ahead.
you see, if you start making sure you have the right framework,
Mm-hmm.
but using the same example,
Mm-hmm.
um, just think about it. If you hire one or two temp employees and you have like visual standard work, that might eat into your margins for that job. But just think about what it allows you to do. It gives you additional time. Those folks can be setting up while you're evaluating improvement, while you're
Mm-hmm.
evaluating your standard work, right? When you are the standard work, then who evaluates you and point out your flaws?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying? And then
Mm-hmm.
and then also the point about operating within chaos. Now we have to understand we don't have Fortune 50 companies here. We're not Google, Microsoft, or Apple that have an R&D designated department that just does what they do. But even those guys doing that, they are still taking notes on what worked and what doesn't work. They're still following up with analysis on their prototype. So I give you an
Mm-hmm.
example.
Mm-hmm.
I assisted my wife open up this assistant living,
Mm-hmm.
and I got coaching from a lot of different people who's been in the field.
Mm-hmm.
When it came to hiring, almost everyone that I spoke to about hiring said, "Man, when I went through the state survey, I got fined because I didn't do this for my employee. I didn't do that for my employee. I didn't do this for my employee." You know what that told me was they didn't
Mm-hmm.
have any process. or
Yeah.
have to onboard a new employee. So
Yep.
I created a checklist for my wife. I said, listen, before you even think about hiring someone, they need to fill out an application. Number one,
Mm.
if they don't fill out an application, there's no conversation.
That part.
After they fill out an application, we need to see their resume, right?
Okay.
Then
Okay.
next, you need to have an interview, a formal conversation with them.
Mm.
After that, you need them to complete their background check. After they complete their background check, you need them to complete the TB test. Once they complete the TB test, now they come in for a formal onboarding. And during the onboarding process, you complete all of their paperwork. So she has a template, right? That she goes by. When we went through our state survey, the guy said, "Hey, can I see your active employee roster? Here you go. Can I see this person TB test?" I'm like, "Don't even show him the TB test. Give him the entire folder." She gave him the entire folder. He went through it. He's like, "Man, this stuff is organized." And it's like, okay, we could have decided just to be going through the baptism by fire. Hey, this
Yeah.
person want a job. Okay, come, we'll do
Yeah.
whatever we need to do. It's like, no, you have a process that works and you can keep evaluating it. It doesn't have to stay the same, but it allows you consistency to protect you. So that way you're able to scale. One of the things that trips you about scaling is, and this country, there's so much regulation. If you're not compliant, you definitely cannot scale.
Yeah.
I'll be very honest with you. If you're
Yeah.
running any state regulated facility and you're non-compliant, you are not going to scale because they will fine you left and right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the reasons why we don't scale is even when we have the appropriate business, we're non-compliant.
Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Well, folks, tonight we are discussing
Go ahead.
just a minute. Let me post some advertisement here. For tonight, folks, we are discussing standard operating procedures, feeding business success through discipline. SOPs. That's what it is. SOPs. But Ms. B, before you continue your thought process, I would just what Ronnie was speaking to is kind of a risk reduction and business continuity, right? So those are the two things you're pretty much speaking to right there.
Yes.
Risk reduction and business continuity, because if you don't reduce risk, there's no way you're going to continue the business, right? The state might either shut you down, and then the other part is you might not scale. But again, right, we're looking at all of these factors. Yes, still to Randy's point, even like I mean, he's talking about those group homes. I would tell you probably you go to 100 librarian own group homes. I mean, you know, you will not find what Randy is web are doing, right? You will not find that. Okay, you will not find it. But go ahead.
And that's true. I here have learned the hard way. As far as being a property owner and property management and renting to people, it takes that one client to take you to try to evict them or get them out of your property. And you go through housing court and you realize, first of all, you don't have a license.
Right.
You don't have the legal lease. You don't have the right language in your lease. You didn't do a background check. Did you ask for a pay stub to verify their income? Did you check to see that they were really employed? Because people can provide such fake documents. But like he said, having all these proper things in place saves you money because you have professional squatters and they can hold up your property for a year and
Yep.
hold you up in housing court for a year. And
Yep.
so now, whether they're paying for that property or not, you still got to pay the bank every month, right? And so you learn. Sometimes it takes a very hard, unfortunate lesson for you to learn that maybe you are not the best person to be managing your properties. Maybe you should rely on an agency, or if not relying on an agency, maybe you should go to take some kind of class or make the time to make sure that you have the right documents in place. Legal documents can be cheap. You can get a membership with something as simple as the Law Depot or whatever, right? These legal entities that provide, really, they go by your state statute and provide you legal documents for your operation. So You don't have to start from scratch when we're talking about today. When we're talking about standard operating procedures. Google is a lifesaver. Google, Google. There's
YouTube.
templates for everything, right? Because other people's have learned the hard way, and they're making that information available to you free, of no cost to you, for free.
Yeah, yeah, folks. I mean, the topic here tonight, man, is great. You know what I mean? These two folks are dropping some great jam. SOPs again. That's the topic for tonight. You can contribute by calling our number 952-594-5154 or putting a comment in the chat. And it is the Inner Circle podcast where we bring topics like the SOP. It might not be sexy, but hey, man, if you if you listen tonight and you
Right.
follow what Randy and Miss B are talking about, I'm just chiming in here. But if you follow what they are talking about, you might be able to scale that business. You might get out of that survivor mode and things like that. To change your mentality. But at what stage at what stage of a business, do you need an SOP, Randy? What stage? Is it at a big? Is it when you're starting the business from very new, or maybe you already started the business, or at what stage do you need SOPs?
I mean, the recommendation is you always want to have a draft of something
Mm,
that you can reference,
okay.
even if you're not familiar with it. But again, understanding, the society we live in, things go pretty fast.
Mm,
I want to be very transparent. I have not started any of my businesses with a standard operating procedure,
mhm,
but as soon as it got going, based on my observation, I
mhm,
started to take note on what is important.
mhm,
And I'm like, okay, you know what? This is what we need to do. So
mhm,
years ago, we had we had a towing company. Previous business partner and I had a towing company, and within a month, we got fined by the state trooper. So you got to do a safety check before you get on the truck, and there needs to be a fire extinguisher in the truck. So we didn't. Our guys were not doing safety checks. We wasn't aware that there was a fire extinguisher. So
mhm,
what we did is we had an operations meeting where we created a standard operating procedure for for pre-check. So
mhm,
basically, what this means is before you get on the truck, you go through a pre-inspection and you
mhm,
identify, is the right blinker working? Is the left blinker working? Is the emergency brake working? Do we have a fire extinguisher? Do you have all the things that is needed for you to operate this truck? Then the guys will get on the truck. So you may be in a position where you don't have SOP now, but guess what? You can always start, right? And it's not who's the first to the finish line. Start, continue to evaluate, and identify opportunity to improve and upgrade.
Miss B though, but once we start and when you're making that money, right, you say like to your, maybe to run this point earlier, we'll focus on the income so much. You say, hey, I already know how to do this stuff. Is that survivor mode, that is that it's our survivor mentality, right? It kicks in. Hey, I'm already making money from here. I know how to do this stuff. I can do it in my sleep. So there's no need anymore to go back to say, hey, I need to create an SOP because they think it's making me money. I mean, like the whatever, like the truck or the business, I mean, Randy was talking about, it's making you money already. So why go back and create an SOP?
Tried and true and proven will tell you that failure to plan is planning to fail. It's any successful business person would tell you,
Mm-hmm.
man, I wish the things I know now and I have in place now, I would have known them sooner and had in place sooner. As Randy was being transparent, I myself will be transparent. There is still a lot of things I don't have in place, right? And I recognize that not having them in place has impacted from me and my husband and I from me being at our full financial potential, because the inability to not have SOPs in place has been a huge factor for why we may not be where we are. And again, success can be misleading. You're making money, you're doing well, you're going, and you're right. You could be on that trajectory for a good 5 years, especially when you have a product that is always in demand,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Mm.
You be on that trajectory, unfortunately, for a good 10 years.
But you're
And
still on that same level, right? You're still on that same level. Nothing, no growth.
so, yes, right? And then you get to this place to realize, like, man, I've missed out on thousands and hundreds of thousands of dollars because of my inability to sit down and put simple procedures in place. That's just what it is. It's simple processes in place, which would have said, you can be able to see, okay, you know what? KPIs. And sometimes you who are busy selling, you are the owner, you're busy doing. If you don't bring other people on, you won't recognize what those KPIs are to know, okay, you know what? My best customers are women. What are these? Who are why women? Because moms. And what are moms buying? SUVs.
Right.
Single women, head of households, buy SUVs. They don't want to be minivan moms. And so instead of the minivan, they're wanting SUVs. We sell a lot of 3-seater SUVs because they avoid buying the minivan.
Yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah.
But it didn't, and the person, my husband, being every day in the business, is not the one seeing that. Me, administratively on the back end, I'm the one that's going to say, oh, July is crazy busy. February is crazy busy. What is causing those, our highest sales points, right? What is causing that? Well, it's the summer, flashy new. People get carried away. They get impulsive. They want to buy. They want to buy flashy new during the summer months. Yes. February, children have gone to school. They realize they need an extra vehicle, that teenager, extra vehicle, all of those things are kicking their butt now. So now, and tax returns have kicked in. They're making sensible purchases. And still, a vehicle is going to be another sensible purchase. Car can be a sensible purchase. It can be a luxury. It can be a flamboyant purchase. That's a good thing. It's a product that's always going to be in demand. But are you going to be there at the right time to capture that? Your SOPs will help you to be able to capitalize on that even better. Having that SOP will help you to know your KPIs even better.
Because what you're saying there, right, is like having an SOP, you can actually bring in an employee, right, as we said earlier, whether temp or whatever, and then you take a step back. Now you to run this one area, you're observing what's taking place in the business, what's working, what's not working, and then it allows you to say, oh, but okay, I thought when I was in this thing all by myself,
Right.
I thought the business was booming, but now I realize we could even be making more because what you're observing, right? Maybe, hey, maybe the reason why we're not bringing in, well, okay, maybe the group home is getting like 200,000, but the reason why maybe we're not opening another group home because we're not marketing, right? Because we're not following, we're not following, regulation and things like that. So it allows you to do like to observe the business. How is the business, the performance of the business, right?
Now, there is. I think Denzel Washington said, "Don't mistake movement for progress."
There you go.
You can run 100 miles.
Well, activity
There
versus
you
progress.
go. You
Okay.
nailed
Right.
it.
You can run 100 miles in a circle,
Yeah.
and you can run 100 miles. From one state to another.
Mhm.
And so standard work. One of the essential benefit, for standard work is really the ability to benchmark best practices. I share with you a business model that I've been operating in Liberia. Got visibility that there's a huge demand for the product in Sierra Leone, so we did a deployment in Sierra Leone. But we didn't have standard work in terms of what a specific role was supposed to do. And so what we did is we had people from Sierra Leone travel to Liberia to get trained. But that was an opportunity for me to realize, like, hey, this is an additional cost. If we had standard work, but also just onboarding people, it would have been very easier for individuals to get visibility to their roles, responsibility, and be able to not have to travel. Because certainly, even though Sierra Leone and Liberia are borders, trust me, not too many Liberians go to Sierra Leone, not too many Sierra Leoneans go to Liberia, and vice versa. And so now we've started a standard work where we're defining each role and position within the organization. We are creating visibility to all of our employees in terms of their role, the purpose of the role, what the expectation is, what how they're supposed to execute their role. We're essentially following that same McDonald's and Burger King model.
Mm.
Right. Our
Okay.
goal is to continue to, to scale throughout West Africa, and next we're targeting Ghana. We don't want to get to Ghana and not have any standard work. So the goal is we want to have standard work for all of our critical positions. And by the time we scale and we start hiring employees, we can essentially execute their onboarding by presenting them a standard work relative to their role.
Mhm.
Many of us do, right? Many of us, many of us have side hustles, we have businesses that, and stuff like that. But before we even get to the side hustle or before we got into business, maybe we used to work at another company or in a corporate world. And then so we associate SOPs with the big companies like the McDonald's, like the Boston Scientific, like the Medtronic, right? Because some of us worked there, what I mean, before. So we see that, but once we start a business, oh, I think it's for the big companies. How can we change our mentality, Miss B? Because that's what most people in our community associate SOP with. Oh, that thing is for the big companies. I don't need SOP, right? You know what I mean? So, but how can we change our mentality to say, hey man, this is important if we want to create wealth in our community, if we want to grow wealth, because business obviously grow wealth, and the way to grow that wealth is to what? Scale the business. Is for the business to grow. If a business is only making 200,000 a year over year, you're not getting into a million, maybe 5 million, maybe 10 million, you know. But how can we change our mentality to get to the point? Look, man, this thing can actually help you in so many different ways. How can we change our mentality? That's not just a big company that need SOPs.
So for me, when you have somebody who they've been running their business by themselves,
Mm,
the thing I try to bring to their attention is like, what does one day in your business look like for you? What do you do in your business in one day? And then when they tell me all the different activities, I say, okay, let's compartmentalize it in departments.
mm-hmm,
So you have the sales department, you have, if you got to go get the parts for this vehicle, you have the parts department, right? And in the sales department, what are the things that you're doing right to close a sale? There's paperwork, right? There's the documentations, there's the filing, there's creating the customer's folder, you naming all of those different things, right? And then I said, okay, and we're just going to start with just one department. Let's sit in your sales department and see what all of the things you're doing in your sales department, right? And then let's just create a task list and write down each task just in your sales, just to close. And that's how you can kind of discipline somebody's thought process to see, without thinking about it or writing it down, these are your operating procedures. And
mm-hmm,
you're only just in your sales, right? You're not in the process of, you go to the auction, the purchasing the material. So if you walk us from the backwards to the front end, because the front end is selling the product to that customer, right? But before you get the car to the customer, what do you need to do? You got to go to the auction. You got to purchase the car. You got to bring the car from the auction to your lot. You got to assess the car and see what it does it needs to do, what repairs need to be made, right?
yeah,
Then
yeah.
you got to figure out where you're going to send it for the repairs. How are you going to buy the material? So I'm working them from the back to the front end. That's the back end office, the back office. I'm working them all to the front end. And honestly, when I do this exercise, as I work with businesses, and I do this exercise each day with solo entrepreneurs, because a lot of our businesses unfortunately sit. I tell this data maybe multiple times a day or month, who knows? I spit it out so much. 92% of the businesses in this country, just this country, owned by Black people, are sole proprietorship. That means they are the only one working in their business. 92%, that's a high percentage of us who are producing and delivering on a service or a product for that, probably doing a job of 5 or 10 people by ourselves.
Mm. mm, mm.
And that's why we say, oh, Black businesses don't make money. It's not because we don't have the right product or service, is our inability to move beyond just us. And that's what Randy is making this topic so important. Your inability to have these standard operating procedures is what keeps all of us in that sole proprietorship mindset. Even if you have a salon, every business, there's not a business owner who can tell me, oh, I don't need a SOP. No business can sit in here and tell us they don't need a SOP. You own a salon, if you're a hairstylist, if you own a restaurant, you need a SOP because you're the same one cooking the food, selling the food, ringing up the customer. Oh my gosh, you're missing out. Because do you know that selling food in the restaurant is units and volume? If you go to the bank, you want to know how many units do you sell a day? And
Yeah.
most restaurant owners that I know couldn't even tell you.
Hmm. Now that's a great gem right there. The thing, one of the things you just brought up there, right, about the business failure in the Black community, especially the Black immigrant community, is because, man, Randy, you've been running that thing by yourself over and over, maybe for 10, 15 years, you get burned out, you get bored, right? It's like or something.
It becomes a routine. It becomes a routine. I
It
have this.
becomes a job. It becomes a job. A business should not become a job.
That
Isn't that
part.
what it is? A business should not be a job, right? It becomes a job. It's because, okay, you left the corporate world, you come establish this thing, you say you're an entrepreneur, you're making money, but because you don't have all of these ingredients in place, so it becomes a job. And you're just doing it over and over.
And sometimes maybe it's because maybe because it's a lack of the awareness, lack of the information. um you know but I like I tell all of my friends, I have one of the things on my bucket list is to establish an enterprise in Africa. If you
Mm,
look at enterprise here in America, you look at these fortune companies, you don't see Black companies there. There's a reason. um, because we lack the appropriate framework. we
mm,
we lack the appreciation for discipline. We lack the appreciation for consistency.
mm,
um, and
mm.
some of these companies, before they even got listed on Wall Street, it took them 50, 60 years
That part. Say it one more
before.
time, Randy, because people
Yeah,
think wealth happens overnight.
yeah, before they even got listed. It took them 50 plus years. And I think part of it too is this survival mode where we look at every and all business opportunity as a way for us to survive,
Mm,
not necessarily as a way for us to create a stepping stone for
mm.
ourselves and the next generation.
Yeah.
And that is one of the reasons why we don't put forth the appropriate level of investment and engagement, because these things take time, bro. You're, you're
Mm-hmm,
not you're not gonna get it within 5 years. You may
mm-hmm,
not get it within 10 years, but the grind has to continue, and you have to believe and have
mm-hmm,
that conviction that, you know what, this is what it's going to take, and this is what I need to do. But when you don't have the vision, when you don't have the conviction, when you don't have the belief,
mm-hmm.
you sometimes even you are the information is spoon fed to you. You don't utilize it.
Yeah.
Because like, man, I'm just doing anything just to pay my mortgage and drive my Range Rover and do my little thing. There's nothing bigger.
Yeah.
There's nothing bigger, and there's a reason why companies like Toyota is number one when it comes to SOPs. Number one, like they tell you how long it takes them to make one car from point A to point B. This is a $1 billion company,
Mm,
and they are putting so much emphasis on standard work. And you're a mom and pop startup, and you think you don't have to?
yeah. 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 The
Oh
other
my
thing.
gosh. And Randy, I'm just sorry, but it just pains me. You just landed on something that pains me about the work that I do. That mentality that they think they don't have to.
Yeah,
Because of that, they don't value what I offer for free. For free.
yeah.
For free.
It becomes an entitlement.
They come and sit in my office and ask me for grants. No real business owner who's really trying to scale their business should be sitting in front of me asking me for grants, for business grants.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
You should have a product or service that is profitable, and you should be asking me, how do I get a loan to grow my business? Because
Scale.
I have a very profitable product or service that needs to go to market.
Hmm.
You're asking me for a business grant, then you're just trying to put money in your pockets. Like he said,
Yeah.
you just want to put
Yeah.
money in your pockets to buy that next luxury item.
Yeah. Folks, man, there's some great gems here tonight. This is the Inner Cycle Podcast. That's what we do. It might seem like a boring topic to you. Standard operating procedures, feeding business success through discipline. My man Randy suggested this topic, and this topic is loaded. Our community needs this topic. We need it. I think that should maybe your nonprofit should do a seminar, a business seminar, and bring in
Yeah,
all of these sort of entrepreneurs, and Randy can come and teach on this topic,
I don't mind.
lecture on it, lecture on this topic. We're doing our part here tonight, but hey, that's what we do here, right? Bring these relevant topic that it is, because our passion here at Inner Cycle Podcast, especially this business segment, is to grow generational wealth. And if you're just in that business by yourself, you're not going to grow generational wealth. You'll get burned out. You eat all the money at the end of the day, retire. You really just become a child. You retire, you not leave nothing with the kids. Okay. And then too, the other thing too, the SOP helps you do though, right? You can even see, okay, maybe there's a need to bring a partnership,
Yeah,
partnership,
yeah,
because those are things we even avoid, right? Hey, maybe like, because there's something you might like, maybe you and I might have a conversation, right? I have a SOP for my business. I know how my business is doing. I know where I'm falling short. And then you and I having a conversation. I say, but man, but maybe we can be a partner, right? Maybe certain things you can, help me to what? Help me do
yeah.
XYZ. So even partnership, not only employees, but partnership or potential investors.
And even providing support to each other. You
Yes.
can't you cannot provide the appropriate level of support to somebody else when you yourself don't have the appropriate foundation.
Yes.
You,
Yeah.
you, you know, and that's another area where we have, we there's gross limitation within our community.
Mm,
Our inability to provide the right support that we need to be successful.
mm,
And the reason we don't have much of us in a position to provide the appropriate level of support that will drive and uplift each other is because we don't have the appropriate foundation. You have to be in a strong foundational state to be able to lend support to someone and
mm-hmm,
coach and mentor.
mm-hmm,
But if
mm-hmm.
you don't have it, what exactly are you going to offer? Chaos.
Yeah. Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, yeah. Miss B, to the other point you brought, right? Like when folks come to, first come to seek help, it's like instead of them focusing on what the help they really need, they're thinking about maybe like the financial aspect first. But what that tells you, or what that tells me here listening to you, is that okay, you don't even have a system or structure in place. Okay. You don't even have a system or structure in place. Or all you're thinking about, I said to your point, right? If you only come in like asking for business grants, because even when you go to the bank gonna ask you about these things, right? The system and the structure, they're gonna review everything. When they look at it, heartbeat, they're gonna say, nah, you're not a profitable business, or you think you're making money, but nah, no, we're not gonna do that for you. So where does the conversation even start, right? Teddy? You as someone that deal with people every day, where do you even begin a conversation that, look, man, maybe we need to go and get this thing from the beginnings so we can get to point A or point B or point C.
The first thing I start to do is tell them I need a business plan. If
Mm,
you don't have one, we can help you. We can give you a consultancy and help you through the business plan. That's where I catch a lot of them. Because they'll hear we're a nonprofit organization. They'll say, oh, I may go to them. They'll have money for me. And they'll come and I'll be explaining to them our technical assistance process. And they're waiting for me to get to the point where I say, oh, I can give you this amount of business grant. That's all they're waiting for. And when the conversation never gets there, it's like, oh, but all those things sound nice, but what kind of money can you guys give me to start this business? What kind of money can you guys give me for my business? And I said, well, we don't have any grants available at this time, However, if you are bankable, we can work with you to acquire, to have access to capital. And then, of course, those are the ones who really just came for the grant. I won't hear from them anymore. But the ones that who really believe in their business and want to take it to the next level, we will walk them through the process of getting a bank loan, getting capital. And when we've done all the legwork, we put them in front of banks. We'll shop them around to a couple of banks. And when we have a business a bank that says yes, we can work with them. Now you got to go through that underwriting process. And that's a whole nother thing, right? And you only get to the underwriting process when you have provided a plan that the bank is interested in saying, okay, this is making sense. I can entertain potentially giving you some money. You haven't gotten the loan yet. The bank is just saying, because you've done the work so far and what you provided to me looks feasible, I want to go through the process of underwriting you to see if you can really get to closing on this loan. And even in that process, we find so many things that still need to make sense. At the end of the day, those dollars need to make sense. Like the cash flow, the units, even if it's a restaurant, right? You can't just be like, oh, you got a restaurant, you got a space, you got all the tools in there. No. How much are you going to sell the food? How many units of this food are you going to sell every day to this amount of people? And if you've already been in business, been a restaurant, and you're trying to get money, most of them restaurants, I feel like they're looking for marketing dollars or equipment dollars. Because better equipment mean that you can better and efficiently get your food out there. Marketing dollars now mean that you can grow beyond and scale beyond the market that you have right now and get more and access more of the market. But to get those marketing dollars and those equipment dollars, your numbers need to make sense to that business. So if they have never accessed capital and access any funding for their business, my first requirement, and it is a requirement now, is that you must complete a business plan.
I mean, Randy, though, right? The one of the things that's suffering us in our community, the access to capital, all Black people. And right there, I said that you guys keep dropping some great gems here tonight, that access to capital thing. But the reason why the banks don't even look at us, they don't even start conversation with us because they know very well we don't have the structure in place, we don't have the discipline, the SOPs are not there.
We don't have the profile.
Okay, yeah,
We don't have the profile. And again, I hope I don't come across in any kind of condescending tone, but
no,
the reality of the situation is, the reality of the situation is, this is like the third critical business infrastructure topic we've had. There was one we did on taxation and how you should be filing your taxes and capturing your finances. We did the other one on KPI. And now here we are talking about standard operating procedure. I'm just looking up a research. Over 90% of the businesses that last 5 years or more have some level of standard operating procedure, framework. And so it's like the data is out there that points to, hey, if you do these things, you improve your chances of success. And you failing to ignore it, or you just deciding to ignore it, you're choosing not to be successful. And it's really gut wrenching when you are within a community and you see so many failed businesses. And the reason these businesses fail a lot of times is just sometimes, maybe it's out of negligence, maybe it's out of ignorance, but sometimes it's just out of pure negligence. It's like, listen, you need to do this to be successful. You know it, but you think you can just pull a rabbit out of a hat. And listen, in the US, you ain't pulling a rabbit out of this hat, bro. I'm telling you, this is a structured environment. I mean, Ms. B and I were just having a conversation. This is the most difficult country to live in. You cannot turn it off. You absolutely, you turn it off, you're creating some type of potential disaster for yourself. Right. And then if you want to be an entrepreneur, you have to be you got to maintain your A game. It is exhausting. It is tiring. But what also makes it less overwhelming is when you're doing it and you have some glimpse of some sense of progress being made.
Yeah.
It becomes overwhelming and daunting when you're in the grind. And guess what? You can't tell the weeds from the bushes.
Yeah.
And that's because you're just operating in a chaotic mode.
Yeah.
And so these are tools we're offering. Take advantage of it.
Yeah.
Learn about it. Start to implement them. Start with the basic. But without it, you're one thing is for sure, you're not going to be successful.
Yeah. Well, folks, tonight is Standard Operating Procedure SOP. There's a 1 hour show, and these guys been dropping gems for the last 1 hour. Enjoying this topic so bad, stuff like that, but we can't keep dragging it all night. So we'll try to wrap it up here. But one of the things that you even notice in our community, right? Our businesses don't create jobs. Our businesses do not create jobs. Okay. So that's why even the politicians don't respect us. We don't have political power, number one, right? We don't have the the financial clout or the business clout. But then the other thing, our businesses are not creating jobs, because if you are creating jobs and you go to City Hall or you go to the state capitol and you say, hey, I created X amount of jobs, you know, the politician going to listen to you, because those are the constituents. But how are you going to create job or SOP without someone helping you, because you have that what? Me, myself mentality, Miss B. So as we wrap this thing up, how can we as a community buy into this idea that SOPs would drive business success, or our businesses would die? Whether it take 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, it would die.
I, in everything, you need to have a plan. I don't even think we have a plan for the money when we make it. And
Hmm.
that is the problem.
Hmm.
Because when you talked about how you're going to go ask for money when you don't have a plan, right? For instance, oftentimes we feel like, oh, our business is not growing because we don't have money. But it's not a money problem.
Yeah.
It's your lack of operations. Because when
Hmm.
you have those operations in place, like Randy has stated, you will see the productivity happen, right?
Hmm.
They come to me, I've been managing my business for 15 years. Things are just slow, nothing moving. I need money. If it's slow and nothing moving, what do you need the money for? You
Money
don't
to
have no
money
customers
to
buying from you.
somebody.
Yeah, you don't have no customers buying. Nothing's moving. Then why do you need money? You don't need money, right? And so, oh, I need money. When I ask them, what do you need the money for? I'm like, oh, I need money to hire and I need money to buy more inventory. But you just explained to me that nothing was moving, nothing is selling in the store. And I'll go in the store, you have a lot of stuff there, nothing selling. What is it that you're hoping to buy that you're going to bring in the store that's going to cause the sales to happen? At the end of the day, you don't have your operations in place.
Hmm.
You don't have a
Hmm.
money problem. You have an infrastructure problem.
Hmm.
There you go.
And
There
Hmm.
the
you go.
infrastructure is lacking the standard operating procedures.
Okay. Randy, man, I said it's a great topic. As we wrap up, what's the call to action here? What is the call to action to the folks out there, to the folks that have been listening to us for the last 1 hour? What is the call to action? What can our community do? Those that think, man, that English you're speaking down the SOPs, standard operating procedure, that be English, the manager going Cycle podcast, be talking all these business terms. What is the call to action to our community?
If you're an entrepreneur and you have a business that either you're not quite sure where it's going, or you know where it's going, it's not going the right direction, or it's going in the right direction, and you just want to make it much more formidable. You want to learn about these things. I understand you can't blame someone for not knowing what they don't know. Reach out, to our Inner Circle podcast. We get you in touch with either myself, Ms. B. I love to sit down and have conversation with people who are very serious minded,
Yeah.
so I can be a resource to be able to help you. I don't shy away from educating and explaining things at the
Yeah.
elementary level for you to understand. And trust me, it doesn't really take much. It's fairly simple once you understand it and you
Mm-hmm.
start to implement it. I will leave off all of us with this. There's three levels of wealth building: population growth, services,
Hmm.
and products.
Hmm.
You don't build wealth outside of these three things. If you really pay attention to the different demographics and how they make money, make wealth, or grow wealth, um, we're not going to generate wealth from the Asian population. All right, let's just be very honest. If you look at our type of businesses we're into, they're not our clientele. They're not in hospitals. They're not in group homes. They don't need our hospital. They don't need our hospitable services. They have their own thing going on. The Hispanics, maybe very similar to the Asians. They have their own business model that is stick to. One thing I will say though, we do have a huge opportunity when it comes to providing services within the healthcare field for the Caucasian demographic. This is a population that desperately need our services, and especially those of us who are in the healthcare space to pay attention to this. In the next 15 to 20 years, every day in the US, over 80,000 Americans are scheduled to turn 65 or older.
Hmm.
Every single day.
Hmm.
Also, pay attention to the cost of living is increasing. The cost of
Yeah.
housing is
Yeah.
increasing.
Yeah.
People cannot afford at a certain age to live by themselves or even afford their mortgages. If you're in the healthcare space, take very seriously these things we're talking about, your business plan, your business model, your infrastructure, because there is a lot of wealth that is going to be available for us to take advantage of. But if you don't take seriously the ability for you to learn, implement, and maintain these tools, you're gonna miss out on it. Trust me.
Hmm. 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 Right there, Miss B, and then I'll let you close on this one, right? System don't limit freedom; they create it, right? That's the thing, like like Randy is talking about right there. System does not limit freedom; it creates freedom. But we think by putting system in place, it's going to either give our idea away, it's going to take that freedom from us. But what it does, it give us more freedom. How can we try to embrace? How can we embrace that, Miss B? Give it the last word.
There's a event coming up. Two events I'm going to tell you. September 18th is the first.
Okay.
It's the Strength and Strategy Lab. Shift from grind into business growth, right? And this is going to be at the Black Business Enterprise in Minneapolis from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m. That's Strength and Strategy Lab, Shift from Grind into Business Growth. And then the other event is a September 25th. That's going to be at the Acer office, and that's going to be a business happy hour. Two things I push for business owners, entrepreneurs. Every other profession has what they call continuing education. No longer how long you've been in business, how long you've been doing what you've been doing. You need to be around other people to learn how to scale up and grow your business. So always participate in some kind of entrepreneur forum, summit, workshop, or go to a networking event, right? These are tools as well to help you to grow and scale your business.
Well, folks, with that, I say right there, as I said, it's a great topic, standard operating procedures, folks. We need to listen to these things. We need to adapt them. We need to follow them because our passion here on the Inner Circle podcast is to what? Build generational wealth. We can't keep doing this solo thing. In 10 years, 15 years, at the end of the day, we're going to die and we'll take it with us, and then we did nothing with the kids. And then sometimes when we die, then people collecting money to bury us. Even though we have business money, they say, but what's going on? what's going what's going on? So, but thank you so much, Randy, for suggesting a great business topic. We
Love
hope the
it.
entrepreneurs, can definitely listen to this, can follow this because that right there, this topic right here has the potential, man, to get you from 100,000 to $5 million to $10 million. Don't doubt it. don't
Absolutely, bro. Absolutely.
don't doubt it. Don't doubt it, folks. But that's it tonight for our business segment. We'll be back here next week Wednesday with another great topic. My man Randy can always come with some good ones. So this time, just let it man flow with it, right? So I know he's gonna come with another good one. Because we need to help the entrepreneur, the business, the aspiring business owner out here. So thank you so much, folks. We'll see you here tomorrow. Tomorrow we have a political segment. District 34B has an election coming up. So we'll have one of the candidates here tomorrow speaking to District 34B, which is mainly Broken Park. So good night, folks. We'll see you guys here back here tomorrow at 7:30.
In a circle
All right.
podcast where love